Heat shimmers over grass that hides 100 ambitions. Dust tastes like iron, and the wind carries hoofbeats, whispers, and hunger. This is the savage kingdom, where giants and hunters share the same sky, and every step is a bet with no refund. Muscle meets strategy, claw meets courage, and the only prize is survival. Tonight, we'll track uneasy alliances, midnight ambushes, and standoffs written in dust and thunder. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and which warrior you're rooting for when the odds turn brutal. Picture a mosaic of sun-baked savannas, thorny scrub, floodplains, and rocky kopjes stitched to rivers where crocodiles wait. Elephant matriarchs hold memory like maps. Lion coalitions test kingdoms. Hyena clans audit every mistake. Buffalo, zebra, and antelope fuel the engines. Eagles and vultures write the epilogue. Twilight slides over the savannah, and a slim shadow glides in on silent paws. Ears up like twin satellite dishes, the black-backed jackal listens to the ground as much as the air. Where lions make headlines, this fox-sized hustler writes the footnotes that keep the story honest. In a world of fangs and dust, agility is a survival strategy. Meet the black-backed jackal of eastern and southern Africa, a discreet but relentless opportunist weighing around 17 to 22 pounds. You'll spot it by the glossy black and silver saddle painted across russet shoulders and flanks, and a tail tipped in ink. It moves with light, careful steps, never wasting energy, always calculating odds. Nature stitched this jackal for efficiency. That dark, silver-flecked saddle rides a lean, coppery body, a cloak that breaks up its outline in tawny grass and moonlit scrub. The face is needle-fine, the muzzle narrow, built for precise work, nipping rodents, prying at shells, stripping morsels from bone. Large, triangular ears crown the head, radar at the ready. They pivot independently, scanning for the tick-tick of beetles or the tiny scrapes of a burrowing mouse. Those ears also act like thermal vents, bleeding heat in the noon blaze. Long legs lift the body above seed heads and prickles, and the paws are tough, sure-footed, happy over sand, stubble, or the packed earth of game trails. The tail is a balancing pole with a clear black tip, a punctuation mark that helps family members keep visual contact in low light. Teeth are honest carnivore tools, sharp canines for gripping, scissor-like carnassials for slicing, backed up by a jaw stronger than its size suggests. The coat is coarse but practical, easy to maintain, slow to snag, a color palette matched to dust and dusk. Put together, the jackal is evolution's economy model, durable, low consumption, surprisingly fast off the line when it needs to be. Jackals live by a simple rule. Take what the land offers, and don't be shy about seconds. They are omnivores with range, hunting mice, gerbils, and hares, raiding bird nests for eggs, snapping up beetles and termites, and padding into fruiting shrubs to swallow figs and berries whole. When the big cats finish dinner, the jackal clocks in as the night shift, tidying the scene and extracting every last calorie from sinew and scraps. It's the savannah's mobile cleanup crew, a garbage disposal with legs. Activity peaks in the cool hours, dawn's first blue and evening's last gold. But jackals are flexible. On quiet days, they'll trot at midday in open ranchland. Where lions and hyenas prowl, they melt into the shadows and let their ears do most of the work. The hunting style is part patience, part pounce, an unhurried trot, ears swiveling, a sudden freeze, then a springing leap that brings teeth and paws down together. Find too much food? They cache it, burying pieces for leaner nights. Voice matters here too. Pairs duet in sharp yips and long quivering howls that say, "Home's taken, move along." At the campfire edges of human life, a jackal might ghost through for peelings or spilled grain, as adaptable as any city superhero wearing a cape of dust. Despite the solo mystique, black-backed jackals are team players where it counts. Most live as monogamous pairs that defend a territory with scent posts, scat sign, and those unmistakable yip howls. Older sons or daughters often stick around as helpers, babysitting at the den, bringing back food, and learning the family trade before they claim their own patch. It's a small, efficient workforce with a clear job description. Keep pups safe, keep rivals honest, and keep the pantry stocked. Dens are usually borrowed real estate. Old aardvark holes smartly renovated with fresh entrances and escape tunnels. Pups arrive after roughly 2 months of gestation, bundles of dark fuzz that grow into swift, copper-backed shadows by the time the rains turn grass into walls. Both parents' provision. They gulp food, trot home, and gently deliver dinner with a nudge and a gag. At carcasses, jackals play chess, not checkers, fainting in, dodging hyena shoulders, snatching a prize and vanishing. With African wild dogs, they keep their distance. With lions, they read the wind and the whiskers and wait. Survival here is equal parts courage and tact. Call the jackal what it is, a keystone opportunist. By hunting small mammals, it keeps rodent booms in check. By scavenging, it cleans the landscape, slowing the spread of disease. Seeds swallowed with fruit travel in a furred courier service, sprouting where droppings fall. This nimble mesopredator has thrived alongside giants by being everything the giants are not. Quick to adapt, quick to move, quick to change plans. Listed as least concern, it still runs gauntlets of snares, persecution, and diseases like rabies. Even so, community coexistence and healthy predator guilds make room for the jackal's necessary work. In a savage kingdom, not every warrior roars. The black-backed jackal is a reminder that survival favors the quick, the clever, and the quietly relentless. In the shimmering heat of a salt pan, a statue breathes. The gray heron waits, motionless. Then the world snaps. Water arcs. A fish vanishes. In this wetland kingdom of ripples and shadows, patience is a weapon, and hesitation is hunger. Meet the gray heron, Ardea cinerea, standing guard over the Vermont pan beneath the green slopes of Onus Mountain. Here, where swift channels braid into calm lagoons, this tall hunter rules the shallows. It can stand as high as 39 inches and fly close to 40 miles per hour, but it prefers to let the water come to it, then strike with surgical speed. Painted in slate gray and soft ash, edged with a black brow that sweeps into a delicate crest, the gray heron looks like a minimalist sculpture designed for stealth. Long, spindly legs lift its body clear of the water's skin, and wide, paddle-like toes help it walk the ooze without sinking. That spear of a bill? It's not just sharp, it's engineered, a rigid lance driven by a neck coiled like a spring. The heron's S-shaped neck hides a marvel of bone architecture, specialized vertebrae that lock and release, unleashing a strike so fast it feels unfair. Broad wings unfurl with calm authority, built for energy-efficient flight between lagoon and roost. Its eyes sit forward enough to judge distance with uncanny accuracy, filtering glare off the surface to fix on the faintest twitch. A silver wink of scales, a frog's betrayingly soft kick. Even its feathering is practical art, water-shedding contour feathers and elegant plumes that don't snag on reed or breeze. Everything about the heron is restraint, design, and the cold precision of a tool meant to feed. The heron hunts by subtraction. Subtract movement, subtract sound, subtract doubt. It stands, statuesque, then slides 1 foot forward, disturbs nothing, and waits for the water to deliver a mistake. Fish are the main prize, but this is a ruthless generalist. Amphibians, crustaceans, mollusks, and even small rodents are all fair game. If opportunity leans its way, a chick of a careless water bird may suddenly become a meal. Daylight makes good hunting, but the heron is no stranger to night work. The wetlands do not close at dusk. They only change their rules. Around this 42-acre pan, currents can flip from swift to slow, channels tighten into mirrors, and the heron shifts tactics with the tides. In spring and early summer, when the air seems feathered with life, 40 species in an hour if you're counting, the heron navigates a living crowd. Red-knobbed coots grazing algae, great crested grebes vanishing like torpedoes, black-winged stilts unrolling those red pin legs. The heron threads through them all, a solitary professional in an ecosystem market where everyone is buying time and selling hunger. Hunting is a solo art, but life is not. Gray herons often live in quite large colonies, noisy neighborhoods called heronries. They return to the same sites year after year, a loyalty that redraws the map of the sky each season. Courtship begins with the male calling, rasping, insistent, then offering sticks like gifts that could build a future. Once a pair forms, they split the job. The male ferries materials, the female constructs the nest with stern efficiency. 2 to 3 eggs come next, and the parents take turns sitting tight for around 25 days. After hatching, both mother and father feed the chicks, a round-the-clock relay that lasts 7 to 8 weeks before those awkward, hungry fluffballs learn the grammar of flight. Colonies bring safety in numbers and the usual drama, squabbles over a good branch, alarm calls rippling like wind through canopies. But in a landscape that can dry, flood, or empty overnight with migration, neighbors are a survival strategy. The gray heron is a regulator, a living check on fish and amphibian populations, trimming the edges of abundance so the system doesn't tip. Its flexible diet buffers it against change, and that lightning strike neck turns shallow water into a feeding ground few can match. It moves when it must. This is a migratory species with different strategies for different seasons, tracking water levels and food pulses across the region. Around it, cormorants churn deeper channels, gulls clean the margins, stilts thread the mud, pieces of one wetland engine that needs all its gears aligned. In this savage kingdom, the gray heron is patience sharpened into power, a reminder that survival favors the still, the focused, the precise. It embodies the spirit of the wetlands, quiet on the surface, relentless underneath. In the glare of salt and sun, the lagoon looks calm until the pink army begins to move. Knees bend backward, heads dip upside down, and the shallows churn like a cauldron. This is the flamingo's battleground, dazzling, alkaline, and unforgiving. Savage kingdom. Fight for survival, where elegance is simply armor painted pink. Meet the flamingo, master of the world's salty lakes and coastal lagoons. Think Africa's Rift Valley soda pans, Andean salt flats, and wind-rattled southern shores. Tall as a child, With a wingspan brushing 5.5 feet, it can knife through the sky at 37 miles per hour. The beak gives away the secret, a living filter designed to upside-down sip life from poison water. Adorned in blush plumage that looks like sunrise caught in feathers, the flamingo is sculpted by extremes. Nearly 4 feet of leg and neck let it wade where predators hesitate and where brine cooks most things alive. The beak is a marvel, hinged to operate upside down, edged with comb-like lamellae, and powered by a muscled tongue that pumps water in and out, trapping prey. Webbed feet stir the bottom, a pink plow that lifts tiny morsels into the mouth's sieve. Wide shoulders carry big, crimson-edged wings built for distance and escape. At a glance, they're ballerinas. But up close, you see athletes, all tendon and torque. Despite their delicate posture, flamingos are strong swimmers and frequent bathers, shaking salt from feathers like sequins from a costume. Their pale gray chicks won't wear that famous pink for 2 to 3 years. The color comes from pigments in their food, the small crustaceans and algae that paint the landscape and the bird at the same time. Daylight is their work shift. Flamingos patrol the shallows in synchronized lines, sweeping those upside-down heads side to side, vacuuming life at the scale of grains and pinpricks. They favor mollusks, crustaceans, tiny crabs, insects, and their larvae, and they supplement the menu with grasses, seeds, and algae. Watch their feet. A subtle stomp and stir turns mud into a buffet. When water pulls back or turns toxic with heat, they simply rise, thousands at once, a rolling thunder of wings, and relocate, sometimes covering vast distances in a single night. Regular baths keep plumage clean and buoyant. Preening reseals the waterproofing because cold wind over alkaline water bites hard. In harsh seasons, the colonies split and reconverge, drawn to the last safe shallows like iron filings to a magnet. Social life here is spectacle and strategy. Flamingos are highly social and often gather by the thousands. When they court, the whole colony seems to switch on. Heads flag in unison, necks snake and bow, wings flash black and crimson in choreographed waves, speed dating with feathers. They are monogamous for the season, forming new pair bonds each year. Together, a pair builds a conical mud nest just high enough to lift their future above the brine. Usually one egg, rarely two, arrives, and both parents share incubation for 27 to 30 days. Chicks hatch soft and gray, staying close to their towering parents, then join creches like tiny kindergartens watched over by vigilant adults. The colony itself is defense, a wall of eyes, a siren swarm that rises if a predator probes. Storms can flood nests. Jackals, marabou storks, and gulls test the edges. Survival is a group project, and the homework never ends. As architects of the shallows, flamingos keep ecosystems in tune. Their constant stirring oxygenates mud, redistributes nutrients, and keeps algal blooms in balance. They convert microscopic abundance into mobile energy, food for big cats, birds of prey, and the opportunists that haunt colony fringes. Along some coasts, kelp gulls, also called Dominican gulls, a nod to friars' black and white robes, patrol for unattended eggs or small chicks. Their telltale red bill spot marks them out. Flamingos persist through droughts and heat spikes, but human disturbance, water extraction, and mineral mining squeeze their options. Protect the water, protect the birds. It's that simple and that complex. In a realm that punishes softness, the flamingo survives by turning grace into grit. It is a symbol of resilience in hostile beauty, a reminder that even in a savage kingdom, delicacy can be a battle plan. Dawn paints the savannah in gold, and the ground itself seems to hum. Then comes the roar. Low, rolling, and territorial, it travels for miles like thunder laid on a drum. In this savage kingdom, survival is a public announcement. The lion has spoken, and the grass listens. Meet the African lion of acacia-dotted woodlands and open grass plains, where shade and shadow are as valuable as speed. The males carry a dark, armor-like mane. The lionesses, sleeker and lighter, are the architects of the hunt. This is the one big cat that chose teamwork over stealth alone, and it built an empire out of cooperation. An adult male stands nearly 4 feet at the shoulder and can weigh around 420 pounds, a muscular monarch sculpted by evolution for close-range power. His mane, thick, dark, and shining at sunrise, isn't vanity. It's a buffer against claw and tooth during brutal confrontations, and a billboard of maturity and health. A tawny coat, painted in sand and dusk, melts into dry grass, camouflaging the approach that ends in a sudden, explosive sprint. Huge paws ride on shock-absorbing pads, with retractable claws like hidden cutlasses. The dew claw acts as a hooked anchor. The canine teeth crush windpipes, and a sandpaper tongue rasps meat from bone. Whiskers red the air, amber eyes gauge distance and intent. A tufted tail is a steering rudder in sprints and a signal flag in tall grass. Scent glands on paws and tail base sign the map of a realm that can stretch up to 96 square miles. And then there's the voice, a roar rich in low frequencies that can carry roughly 5 miles. Defense system, roll call, and keep out notice, all in one thunderclap. Lionesses are the pride's elite strike team, providing up to 90% of the meals. They prefer the cool bookends of the day, night and early morning, when endurance and planning beat raw speed. A semicircle forms, each cat using bushes as stepping stones, reading the wind, watching for any flick of an ear from zebras or wildebeest. One lioness edges forward to split a target from the herd. Silence stretches. Then it snaps. The chase erupts. Hooves drum, dust flies, and a lioness clamps with decisive precision. Not every hunt succeeds, but when it does, the kill is swift, the teamwork clinical. At the carcass, order turns to argument. Growls, cuffs, and quick rebukes determine who eats when. The male often dines first, royal privilege, taxes paid in patience by everyone else, because a defender needs full strength to patrol and fight. After feeding, lions rest hard, then patrol the borders, rubbing, scraping, spraying, and roaring, the nightly maintenance of a living fortress. Drought shortens tempers and stretches distances. Hyenas at the edge can force a retreat, a regroup, or a reminder roar that resets the neighborhood. A pride is family with an edge. Adult females, mothers, sisters, daughters, raise cubs together, nurse communally, and coordinate hunts with practiced choreography. Dominant males, often brothers or allies, hold tenure through muscle and timing. Their job is to guard the territory and the bloodline. Coalition takeovers are decisive and often savage. New rulers may kill the previous leader's cubs. Brutal, yes, but biologically strategic, resetting the breeding clock for their genes. Cubhood is play with a purpose. Stalking, pouncing, and mock battles that wire the nervous system for future work. At the carcass, hierarchy is negotiated by growl and glance, while communication, head rubs, tail touches, and contact calls glues the pride after the squabbles fade. When a pride member strays, that 5-mile roar becomes a homing beacon. Lions steer the savannah's traffic. By culling the weak and unwary and pressuring herds to move, they shape grazing patterns, preventing overbrowsing in one place. Their kills feed a guild of scavengers, from hyenas and jackals to vultures, so energy moves cleanly through the system. Competition with hyenas sharpens strategy on both sides, a constant arms race of wits and numbers. Listed as vulnerable, lions face shrinking habitat, conflict with people, and prey declines during droughts. Yet where corridors are protected and communities benefit from conservation, this kingdom still roars. The lion is a symbol of strength sharpened by cooperation, a ruler who must fight every day to stay crowned. In this savage kingdom, survival isn't promised. It's earned, breath by breath, roar by roar. At the river's edge, the water breathes, and then it opens into a pink cavern of teeth. One yawn from a hippo isn't a stretch, it's a warning sign lit in neon. Calm as a boulder until the fuse burns short, the hippopotamus turns quiet water into a battleground in one heartbeat. In this savage kingdom, the stillest surface hides the fiercest fight for survival. This is the common hippopotamus of Africa's riverbanks and floodplain lagoons, where heat presses down and life hugs the water. Built like a living tank, yet deceptively nimble, the hippo spends most daylight hours submerged, its skin thirsty for shade and moisture. Don't let the soft curves fool you. A hippo's jaw can open to an astonishing 150 degrees, and those lower canines, tusks, can reach nearly 20 inches. Painted in slate gray with a blush of brown, the hippo is sculpted by water and sun. Its hide is thick and nearly hairless, more armor than skin, but fragile to heat, which is why the animal sinks like a stone into pools by day. Nature gave it periscope eyes, ears, and nostrils set high on the skull, so the rest of the head can stay underwater while the world is still monitored. Those nostrils close tight like tiny submarine hatches. Ears flick water away. Eyelids shield soft tissue from grit. The body is barrel-shaped and buoyant with dense bones that help it stay grounded in the shallows. Short legs end in splayed, semi-webbed toes for grip in mud and surprising speed on firm ground. The mouth is a masterpiece of intimidation, a hinge that can swing open wider than your steering wheel turns, revealing chiseling incisors and scimitar canines that sharpen themselves with every bite. Bite force? Almost 3 times that of a lion. The skin oozes a pinkish blood sweat, not blood at all, but a natural sunscreen and antimicrobial film that keeps UV and infection at bay. In some river systems, adults weigh around 3,300 pounds, all muscle and momentum, power designed for water governance. Daylight belongs to the river. Hippos loaf in groups stacked like gray boulders, rising to breathe every few minutes, drifting, dozing, cooling. Bulls posture with theatrical yawns and jaw jacks, turning placid pools into boardrooms with bad tempers. Dung spraying, tail whirring like a helicopter, is their scented graffiti, painted on reed beds and banks to draw territorial borders. As heat loosens, the script flips. Dusk ushers in a pilgrimage. Hippos heave their bulk onto land and follow ancient hippo highways, narrow paths carved through grass and scrub. They're herbivores with a simple menu, grass, lots of it. But they're marathon grazers, walking miles at night, heads down, engines purring. By dawn they return, bellies full, tempers reset, slipping into the water like ghosts. They share space with crocodiles in a wary detente. Crocs respect adults. Hippos ignore them until they don't, clearing space with a push or a snap. With buffalo herds gathering on the dark plains and lions tuning up for night shift, the river becomes the hippo's fortress. Unpredictable near people, hippos are responsible for more human deaths in Africa than lions and sharks combined. In a land of teeth, the grass eater is often the most feared. Hippos live in loose rafts, social but not cuddly. A dominant bull claims a stretch of water like a landlord, who also happens to be a battering ram. Females and young cluster within his reach. Subordinate males orbit the edges, careful not to ignite a war they can't win. Disputes are brutal but ritualized. Mouths open to the limit, teeth bared, water thrashing, then a sudden charge, jaws clashing, flesh tearing. Scars map the veterans. Calves are born in shallow water or on secluded banks. Mothers nudge them to the surface for that first breath, then act as floating nurseries. Calves ride on mom's back when the water deepens, nursing underwater between surfacing breaths. Communication hums across the river, grunts, wheezes, and deep bass rumbles that travel through water like drum beats in a cathedral. Most of the time, space and ritual keep the peace. When it doesn't, the river remembers the cost. Hippos are gardeners and freight movers for the ecosystem. By grazing on land and defecating in water, they shuttle nutrients from pasture to river, fertilizing plankton blooms that feed insects, fish, and birds. Their pathways open corridors for other animals, and their wallows shape pools used by terrapins and fish. In drought, crowded hippos can over-enrich small backwaters, tipping them toward oxygen crashes. A reminder that even keystone players can push systems to the edge. Calves fall to lions and large crocodiles. Adults fear little but drought, habitat loss, and conflict with farmers. Across much of Africa, hippos face pressure from shrinking water, snares, and illegal ivory from their teeth. The hippo is a symbol of power minted by water and night, a reminder that survival here isn't polite. In this savage kingdom, the fight is simple. Hold the river, keep the grass, and meet the darkness with a mouth no one argues with twice. In the hush between wind gusts, two satellite dish ears slice the grassland silence. The serval waits, small, quiet, and tuned like a living antenna. No roar, no chase, just a sudden blur of air and muscle. In this savage kingdom, the deadliest move is often the softest. Meet the serval, the long-legged cat of Africa's savannas and wetlands, built not for brawls, but for precision. Standing just over 2 feet at the shoulder, it is a specialist that hunts in the gaps other predators ignore. Its signature party trick? A vertical leap that clears more than 6 feet, landing with prey already pinned under velvet paws. Sculpted by evolution to be a sound-guided missile, the serval wears gold grassland painted with black coins and fine stripes. A small, narrow head crowns a long neck, and atop it, those outsized mobile ears, constantly swiveling, independent like twin radar dishes scanning in stereo. Its legs are the longest relative to body size of any cat. Elongated hind limbs load like springs, then unload in explosive arcs. A short, ringed tail helps balance mid-leap, while a lithe spine coils and uncoils like a whip. This cat is slender, almost delicate at first glance, but every line serves a purpose. Tall stature to see and hear above grass, big ears to detect the ultrasonic squeaks of mice, fine, sensitive whiskers to read ground tremors. Even its coat is strategy, dappled to vanish in sun-spotted stems. The serval isn't built to overpower, it's built to arrive exactly where it needs to be, exactly when it matters. The serval hunts with patience that borders on meditative. It pauses, listens, triangulates the tiny footfalls of a vole beneath thatch or the rustle of a lark edging a reed bed. Then comes the moment, an almost otherworldly hop, a short flight of fur and focus, forepaws hammering down to stun, jaws finishing clean. Its menu is a sampler of small lives, rodents, lizards, frogs, birds, and a crunch of beetles and grasshoppers when opportunity buzzes by. Success rates here rival the best on the plains. Efficiency, not drama, wins dinner. Mostly crepuscular and nocturnal, the serval works the cool hours, ghosting along wet meadows and floodplain edges, sometimes wading ankle-deep to flick fish or frogs from shallows. It taps at grass tufts to flush prey, springs to snatch birds mid-air, and swallows small catches fast before a hyena's curiosity turns into theft. By day, it melts into tall grass or rests in sheltered cover, keeping miles between itself and the headlines made by lions and hyenas. In a landscape obsessed with force, the serval is a masterclass in finesse. This is a solitary operator. A male's territory may overlap the ranges of several females, and everyone keeps the map fresh with scent posts, urine sprays on stems, cheek rubs, and strategic scrapes. Communication is subtle. Soft chirps, trills, and a repertoire of purrs and growls that never need to be loud to be clear. Meetings between adults are brief and businesslike, unless it's the season to court. Then he follows, she decides, and both drift apart as quietly as they came together. After roughly 2 to 2.5 months of gestation, the female tucks 1 to 4 kittens into a den, a clump of dense grass, a hollow, or a borrowed burrow. She moves them often to dodge noses that read too well. Lessons begin early. Freeze at danger, listen first, leap only when certain. Juveniles practice with grasshoppers and graduate to mice, perfecting that signature pounce. Males may spar at territory seams, ears flat, tails twitching, but real fights are rare. In this economy, energy is a currency you don't waste. The serval is rodent control with spots, trimming populations that would otherwise chew through seeds and crops. It threads the spaces between apex predators, a mesopredator that keeps the small gears turning so the big machine runs. Owls, eagles, pythons, leopards, hyenas. These are the risks that shape its quiet route choices. Its adaptations are elegant. Ears tuned to ultrasound, spring-loaded legs, a coat for vanishing acts. Listed as least concern, it still faces snaring, habitat loss, and persecution where poultry raids spark conflict. In some highland moors, melanistic black servals hint at nature's flair for variation. Same blueprint, darker ink. In a world that worships roar and muscle, the serval is proof that survival can be a whisper with perfect timing. It embodies the spirit of precision over power, living, thriving, and winning the fight for survival, one flawless leap at a time. Heat shimmers over the grass, and a living tank rolls out of the haze. The rhinoceros doesn't sneak. It declares itself, head high, horn forward, a relic with a heartbeat. In a realm where arguments are settled by weight and will, this is the battering ram of the savannah. One wrong move near a mud wallow, and 5,000 pounds can turn the ground into thunder. Meet the rhinoceros of the African savannah, most commonly the southern white rhino across bushveld and open grasslands. Thick-skinned and thick-set, it looks invulnerable, a survivor cut from the bedrock of ancient time. Unlike social elephants, rhinos lean solitary, drifting between shade and pasture with the confidence of a heavyweight who knows nobody wants to test the reach of that horn. A rhino wears its past like armor. The hide is slate gray and deeply grooved, a mosaic of plates and seams that looks forged more than grown. Up close, you see the details. Scarred skin polished by mud, a dusting of pale soil that acts like natural sunscreen, and a horn sculpted from keratin, the same protein as our hair and nails. That horn can grow astonishingly long, up to about 5 feet in exceptional cases, tapered like a spear and anchored by dense fibers that absorb and deliver force. Small eyes sit forward on a broad skull, but the ears are the stars, tall, cupped, and constantly swiveling, catching whispers the eyes might miss. The square, wide mouth tells you its profession: grazer. A white rhino's broad lips skim lawns of short grass like a living mower, while heavy, splayed toes spread its weight across soft ground. Everything here is function. The barrel chest holds lungs that feed sudden power. The neck is a pulley system of muscle, raising and driving that horn. In a world of tooth and claw, the rhino chose a different path: armor, leverage, and a terrible, undeniable shove. Despite the bulk, this giant runs. Threaten it or confuse it, and a rhino can explode to 31 miles per hour, a gray lightning bolt that can flip a jeep in rare, tragic encounters when boundaries blur. Yet most days are quieter. Dawn and dusk are mealtimes, cool hours spent cropping grasses and drifting between patches like a slow tide. Midday heat drives it to shade or a beloved wallow, where it rolls with the clumsy joy of a boulder learning to swim. That mud suit is multi-tool and miracle. Cooling system, parasite shield, sunblock, even a social cologne when dried flakes carry a scent signature down the breeze. Vision is modest. A rhino might not notice you until you shuffle or speak. Smell is its superpower. It reads paths like a newspaper: who passed, how long ago, what they ate. Dung middens mark territory and broadcast status, a communal message board where every deposit means something. Males scrape, spray, and patrol. Females trace safer routes with calves tucked behind. Most charges are warnings, a harsh punctuation designed to teach distance. But in the savage kingdom, survive first, apologize later is a valid life plan. Rhinos are not hermits so much as introverts. Bulls maintain territories that may overlap with a dominance range. Disputes are ritual before they are war. Posturing, horn displays, parallel walking. When it escalates, horn meets horn, and the hide earns its keep. Cows are more tolerant, sometimes forming loose crashes, especially around rich grazing or reliable water. Motherhood is fierce and tender. A calf shadows its mother like a moon follows a planet, learning routes to water, how to find the right mud, how to place a foot before it places a panic. Vocalizations, snorts, squeals, breathy honks carry simple messages. Stay close, move now, back off. Oxpeckers ride shotgun, plucking ticks and sounding alarms with chattering calls. Predators rarely test an adult, but hyenas or big cats may risk a calf. That's when a 5,000-pound rebuttal ends the debate. As mega-grazers, white rhinos manicure grasslands, keeping swards short and nutritious for antelope, zebra, and even young buffalo. Their trails channel rain, their middens fertilize, and their wallows become seasonal ponds where frogs sing and birds congregate. They are engineers as much as icons. Evolution armed them with keratin weaponry, swivel-ear radar, and a metabolism tuned to bulk forage, perfect for open savanna. The true test is modern. Poaching and habitat loss press hard, yet protection programs, dehorning in some reserves, and community conservancies have lifted the southern white rhino from the brink, though it remains near threatened and never far from danger. In a land where survival writes the rules in dust and hoofprints, the rhinoceros is both fortress and flame, ancient, stubborn, and astonishingly alive. It embodies the spirit of the savage kingdom. Fight when you must, endure always, and carry tomorrow on your horn. Noon hammers the savanna flat. Lions melt into shade, hyenas vanish into the grass, and the air trembles with heat. Then a black shadow moves like a continent on legs. The African elephant, calm on the outside, iron-willed within. In a kingdom ruled by hunger and thirst, this giant fights its wars without fangs of fear. Its battlefield is water, memory, and time. Meet the African elephant of the sun-scorched savannas and woodlands, the largest land mammal on Earth. Standing up to 10.8 feet at the shoulder and weighing over 6.5 tons, it is an engineer of nature in a place that never gives gifts. Tusks can stretch past 6.5 feet, crowns of ivory that double as tools, and at the center of everything, a trunk with roughly 40,000 muscles, precise enough to pluck a single leaf, powerful enough to hoist a log. Painted the color of thunderclouds and dust, the elephant wears a suit of wrinkled armor. Those wrinkles aren't just style. They trap water and mud, turning skin into a long-lasting cooling system and a shield against sun and parasites. Ears spread wide like sails, latticed with blood vessels that shed heat when the world becomes an oven. Each foot is a moon-sized cushion, fat pads and elastic tissue that spread weight, soften steps, and let a 6-ton animal move with the stealth of a rumor. Tusks curve outward like twin sabers, built for prying roots, stripping bark, and chiseling into dry riverbeds. The trunk is a living multi-tool, a muscular rope tipped with 2 dexterous fingers that can sniff, touch, lift, and pour, switching from a surgeon's touch to a bulldozer's shove without missing a beat. A keen sense of smell. Reads the wind like a library. Rain coming, water underground. Who passed by last night? High shoulders and a sloping back carry a furnace of muscle. Dense bones and a long skull anchor that incredible trunk and tusks. Even their eyes, shaded by long lashes, are small sentries against dust and glare. Every piece is sculpted by heat, distance, and the harsh math of survival. Elephants are tireless foragers, grazing on grasses at dawn and dusk, then browsing on branches, leaves, and bark when the light softens. An adult can put away hundreds of pounds of vegetation a day, part lawnmower, part tree pruner, part excavator. Tusks take down saplings and tip deadwood. What looks like destruction is strategic landscaping. The trunk does the fine work, a twist for tender leaves, a pinch for thorns turned harmless, a blast of dust for sunscreen, a slurp of water that turns into a fountain. As heat peaks, they slow beneath shade or seek the nearest pan of mud. In the dry season, routine becomes pilgrimage. The matriarch reads the air and the ground. Then the herd walks, 10, 20, 30 miles if they must, toward water hidden in sand or promised in thunder. That nose can detect rainstorms far away and the whisper of moisture beneath cracked earth. At waterholes, their presence redraws the map. Hyenas step aside, lions calculate, everyone pays attention when the big feet arrive. Most days are orderly: feed, walk, drink, rest. But on this stage, calm is a strategy. When a calf stumbles or a predator gambles, those tusks stop being tools and start being verdicts. Elephants live by the wisdom of their elders. Family groups are led by a matriarch, an older female whose memory holds maps no satellite could store. Hidden springs, safe crossings, seasonal grasses. Daughters, sisters, and calves travel in a loose, breathing constellation around her. Calves nurse for years and are guarded like treasure. Ants babysit, teenagers practice discipline, and the whole herd forms a living wall when danger presses in. Lions and hyenas rarely challenge adults, but a calf on the wrong side of the herd makes the grass twitch with risk. The response is immediate. A circle tightens, trunks raise, ears flare, and the ground begins to drum. Communication is a web of rumbles that roll below our hearing, seismic whispers that travel through earth and air. Greetings are ritual and tender, trunk to mouth, to temple, to tail. Bulls, driven by their own seasons, drift in and out, forming bachelor groups or roaming alone. When they meet, manners may turn to arm wrestling with tusks, all heft and posture. Through it all, leadership is earned in miles walked and crises remembered. Call them architects of abundance. By felling trees and opening thickets, elephants let sunlight flood the ground, inviting a carpet of fresh grass that feeds antelope, zebra, and buffalo. Their tusk-dug wells become relief stations for warthogs and birds. Seeds swallowed on one hillside are planted and fertilized miles away, stitching habitats together. Trails beaten by generations become highways for everything on four legs. In a place where every drop counts, their ability to smell and dig water can keep entire neighborhoods alive. Egrets ride the wave, oxpeckers pick at parasites, and the whole savannah breathes easier because giants make space. In a savage kingdom where sharp teeth write many stories, the elephant reminds us that power can be patient and battles can be won with memory, muscle, and mercy. It embodies the spirit of endurance, unyielding, essential, and fiercely gentle when gentleness is a choice. The ground doesn't just shake, it hums like a living drum. Dust lifts, horns tilt forward, and a gray tide flows across the Serengeti Mara. Where the grass rolls and rivers cut deep, the wildebeest answer an ancient order: move or die. Meet the blue wildebeest of East Africa's Serengeti Masai Mara ecosystem, the engine room of the Great Migration. Stocky shoulders, sloped backs, and bearded throats give them a rugged, slightly built-by-committee look. But don't be fooled by the odd proportions. This is endurance wrapped in hide. In columns that stretch to the horizon, they are survival made visible. Painted in smoky gray with a blue sheen, the wildebeest wears a black beard, a stiff mane, and a tail like a horse's paintbrush. Both males and females carry horns, heavy, bossed and curved outward, then inward like a pair of question marks that never stop asking predators, "You sure?" The shoulders sit high, the hindquarters slope low, giving them a forward-leaning profile, as if evolution tilted the whole body toward tomorrow. Long, sturdy legs end in hard, shock-absorbing hooves that chew up miles of rough ground. Under the hood, a four-chambered stomach tuned to graze short, fresh, green blades, exactly what appears after the first rains. Their noses red wind like a weather station, catching the scent of wet soil and lightning-split air. Eyes set wide scan for trouble, ears flick, catching the gossip of hooves and hyenas. Not the fastest sprinters, but built for relentless travel and sudden dodges, they carry fuel for 500-mile arcs, where hesitation is expensive and momentum is everything. Wildebeest are grass specialists, following the rain front that sweeps the plains. Zebras often go first, trimming the tall stuff. Wildebeest roll in behind and mow the tender regrowth, nature's tag team lawn crew. Days start with a nervous breakfast in open light, punctuated by snorts, tail flicks, and the occasional stampede drill when a shadow looks suspicious. When rivers slice across the route, the world tightens. The banks churn with indecision, then one animal commits, and the herd surges. A living rope thrown across deep, crocodile-haunted water. Some slip, some vanish, most claw their way up the far bank, sides heaving, eyes bright with the math they just survived. In the south, calving happens in a sudden, synchronized burst. Thousands of births within weeks. Newborns stand in minutes and sprint in hours. This is a nursery with no fences and too many teeth outside. Nights are a negotiation with lions and hyenas, so the herd rarely sleeps deeply, always ready to turn the ground into thunder again. Think fusion and fission. Herds gather, split, and weave back together, guided less by leaders than by a million tiny decisions, pressure, spacing, and the invisible pull of greener grass. Cows and calves form the warm core. Calves imprint on mom's voice and scent, chasing her through the swirl like a tiny comet following a planet. Bulls stake out small territories during the rut, posturing on dust-scented stages, prancing, grunting, and piling dung like keep-out signs. They joust horn to horn, most bouts quick and ritualized. Bachelor males trail the masses, waiting for openings. Across species, the partnership with zebra is practical and profound. Zebras eat high, wildebeest graze low. Zebra's keen eyes pair with wildebeest's numbers to multiply vigilance. Communication is a chorus, low gnu, calls, sharp snorts, the body language of tails, heads, and hooves all saying, move, bunch, run. Wildebeest are landscape engineers on 4 legs. Their grazing patterns keep grasslands young and productive. Their hooves aerate soil, and their manure seeds the next flush of green. The migration drags nutrients across vast distances. Even tragedies at river crossings feed crocodiles, vultures, fish, and floodplain soils. They are the backbone prey for lions and hyenas, a seasonal heartbeat predators time their lives to. Threats are modern and blunt, fences that slice corridors, snares, expanding farms, hotter droughts. Yet in protected ranges like Serengeti Mara, the great herd still rolls, about 1.5 million strong, proof that, given room, wild rhythms can still write their own map. In this savage kingdom, the wildebeest is courage without ceremony, an emblem of endurance. It reminds us that survival isn't a moment, it's a movement, one hoofbeat after another, into the teeth of the world. The grass shivers, then thunders. A sea of stripes rolls toward a river with teeth. In the Serengeti Mara, the zebra's heartbeat is migration, and every hoofbeat is a wager against hunger, lions, and crocodiles. This is survival painted in black and white, and nothing about it is simple. Meet the plains zebra of the Serengeti Mara ecosystem, the striped trailblazer of East Africa's greatest migration. Each zebra wears a unique barcode of life, no 2 patterns alike, designed by evolution for confusion and recognition. They lead the march to fresh grass and water, often ahead of the wildebeest herds that shadow their steps. Up close, a zebra is a sculpture of contrasts. Bold black and white bands draped over a barrel chest, long legs, and a bristled mohawk of a mane that stands permanently at attention. Those stripes aren't a fashion choice. They break up the animal's outline, turn a sprinting herd into a flickering maze, and help foil a predator's aim when the sprint begins. Some researchers think stripes also deter biting flies, and may even aid heat control by setting up tiny air currents along the skin. Either way, the uniform doubles as a survival tool. A zebra's mouth is a heavy-duty mower. Sharp incisors crop tough stems. High-crowned molars grind through silica-laced grasses. A tough muzzle and leathery lips let them graze low and rough, tackling coarse forage first. That's their niche, taller grass up front, tender shoots left behind for others. Legs are built for distance and quick turns, with shock-absorbing hooves that eat up kilometers. Large lungs and a big heart feed the engine. Wide-set eyes watch the margins even while chewing. The tail's black tuft is a fly swatter. The ears swivel like radar. Everything on a zebra points to one purpose: keep moving, keep feeding, keep ahead of danger. Zebras are daylight strategists, grazing at dawn and dusk, resting when the sun burns white hot, then resuming the slow drift toward rain-greened pastures. When you see them standing belly deep in gold, they're doing arithmetic. Grass left here, water over there, predators somewhere. They prefer to drink daily if they can. If they can't, they gamble with distance. They're the pathfinders of the Great Migration, often stepping out first across plains and toward rivers. At a crossing, the air tightens. The stallion edges forward, ears pricked, nostrils testing the wind. Then the dam breaks. Zebras splash in, hooves hammering brown water, and somewhere beneath, ancient jaws wait. Not all make it. Most do, because speed meets numbers, and hesitation rarely survives in crocodile country. On land, danger comes in tawny and spotted. Lions and hyenas test the edges of the herd. Zebras bunch tight, then burst into synchronized sprints, stripes turning the ground into a flicker show. If cornered, they don't go quietly. A zebra kick can crack ribs, a bite can rip a lip. Dust bathing, grooming, dozing on their feet, they still find calm between alarms. But the Serengeti never lets them forget. Every mouthful costs something. Zebra society is a quilt of small family units inside a larger tide. A typical harem holds one dominant stallion, several mares, and their foals. He often guards the rear on the move, the dangerous place, ears flat when trouble presses. The mares run the day-to-day, forming tight bonds cemented by grooming, muzzle nuzzles, and quiet contact that says we more than me. Foals arrive on wobbly legs and are standing within minutes. For a day or two, a new mother keeps her baby slightly apart so it can memorize her smell, voice, and stripe pattern. That's mom's signature in a crowded world. Young males drift into bachelor bands where sparring is practice for tomorrow's challenges. When harems merge with thousands of wildebeest, a mega herd forms. Zebras clip the tall grass and set the route. Wildebeest add a moving wall of ears and alarm calls. It's not friendship, it's practical alliance in a kingdom that rewards good decisions. Zebras are the front-end mowers of the savannah. By trimming tall, coarse grasses, they trigger tender regrowth that fuels wildebeest, gazelles, and everything that follows. Their hooves churn soil, their dung ferries seeds and fertilizer across hundreds of miles. Predators count on them, scavengers depend on the aftermath. Threats are real: lions, hyenas, crocodiles, and beyond the park borders, fences and snares that can sever ancient roots. The plains zebra is listed as near threatened, a status that says the stripes we take for granted still need safe corridors and human restraint. In this savage kingdom, the zebra is both target and trailblazer, a symbol of courage written in motion. Its stripes tell a simple truth: survival isn't pretty or polite, it's persistent, and persistence out here wins. Dusk cools the savannah, and a shadow begins to move. Rosettes ripple like broken moonlight as the ghost of the grasslands tests the wind. This is the leopard, silent muscle wrapped in camouflage, entering the savage kingdom's oldest trial. A single hunter against hunger, thieves, and the dark. Meet the African leopard, ranging across open savannas, woodlands, rocky kopjes, and even mountain forests. Compact yet powerful, an adult here often weighs around 130 pounds, a perfect balance of strength and agility. Where lions rule by noise and numbers, the leopard rules by silence. It survives not by being seen, but by making sure it isn't. Painted by nature in rose-shaped spots, the leopard wears a coat that breaks its outline into light and shadow, a living patchwork that disappears under acacia dapple and on granite ledges. The fur runs from gold to deep tawny, pale beneath, with rosettes unique to each cat, its signature in a world with no paper. A long, counterbalancing tail writes curves through branches. Wide paws ride on thick pads that mute footsteps to whispers. The shoulders and neck are sculpted like coiled springs, built to hoist heavy prizes into the treetops. Retractable claws stay razor-ready, while a hooked dew claw works like a climbing carabiner on rough bark. Forward-facing eyes catch faint starlight thanks to a reflective tapetum lucidum. The ears swivel like satellite dishes, locking onto hoofbeats in grass you'd swear was empty. Whiskers map the world in darkness, feeling the width of a gap before the body commits. Every line of this cat, low profile, flexible spine, compressed power, exists to vanish, to stalk, and to explode. The leopard's day is mostly night. It hunts by patience, letting the world make the first mistake. A glance becomes a plan. Check the wind, find cover, melt into shade, step, freeze, belly creep. When the distance drops to a heartbeat, the cat ignites. 2, maybe 3 seconds of violence, jaws to the throat or nape, and the grass goes quiet. Before hyenas even notice, the leopard cashes its paycheck. It hauls the kill skyward, threading branches with a weight many gym memberships can't deliver, sometimes twice its own. Up there, dinner cools in the starlight. The menu is long. Impala, warthog, young zebra, guinea fowl, even fish and monkeys if the opportunity smiles. Daylight hours are for shade on a ledge, a forked branch, or deep thicket, ribs rising slow, ears on duty. Between hunts, it patrols the mental map, game trails, water, bottlenecks, refreshing scent marks on tree trunks with urine and claw scrapes. Voice is rare, but unmistakable. A rasping, sawing call that sounds like a tree being cut. Here, it says, without ever showing a face. Leopards are introverts with excellent boundaries. Adults live solitary lives, each holding a territory. Males typically overlap several females' ranges, but they avoid each other like professionals who know how bad office drama can get. Meetings are brief and purposeful. During mating, a few intense days of courtship and truce. Then it's back to quiet. Females den their cubs in caves, hollow logs, or thorn tangles, moving them often to dodge lions, hyenas, and wandering males. Cubs nurse and learn by play. Ambushes on mom's tail, miniature stalks on grasshoppers, before graduating to drag and pounce lessons on small prey. Many don't make it. Cub mortality is high in this competitive neighborhood. Independence comes around 18 to 24 months, when a young leopard must read the land and write its own story, without getting edited by a larger cat. Communication remains subtle. Scent, scrapes, and that saw-like cough are the living notices on this invisible bulletin board. As a versatile apex mesopredator, the leopard shapes the savannah from the shadows. It trims antelope numbers, culls weak and unwary prey, and redistributes nutrients. Carcasses cached in trees feed insects and scavenging birds below. By climbing while lions and hyenas mostly dominate the ground, it carves its own lane, reducing direct conflict and keeping the food web balanced. Its genius is adaptability. From humid forests to highland rocks, even skirting the edges of farms, it adjusts diet and schedule like a seasoned survivor. Yet snares, habitat loss, and poisoning still cut deep. The species is listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List, a reminder that even masters of concealment can't hide from shrinking wilds. The leopard is the savage kingdom's quiet thesis, power that doesn't brag, courage that doesn't crowd. It embodies the spirit of survival, brutal in the moment that decides everything, invisible until that moment arrives. In the glare of the open savannah, a shadow slides between tall grass and heat shimmer. The cheetah waits, coiled spring, quiet fuse, a sports car with spots. When the distance closes and the odds tip, the air itself seems to pull it forward. Meet the cheetah, the fastest land animal on Earth, carved by pressure and pared down by necessity. From East Africa's golden plains to southern Africa's thorn scrub, it hunts in daylight, trusting speed where others trust strength. Black tear lines frame amber eyes, a natural sunshade for a predator that reads the world in motion. This cat is all aerodynamics and economy. A slender body, waist narrow as a bow grip, is adorned with small black spots that break its outline in grass. A deep chest houses large lungs and an oversized heart, pistons that slam oxygen through a frame built for sudden flight. The spine is a whip of springs. With each bound it flexes, lengthening the stride to 7 meters or more. Long legs end in semi-retractable claws, more like track spikes than daggers, gripping dirt for explosive acceleration. Enlarged nasal passages gulp air. A lightweight skull with powerful jaw muscles holds on when it matters. The tail works like a rudder, flicking left or right to counter a gazelle's last-second feint. 0 to 60 miles per hour in a handful of heartbeats isn't a boast here. It's a survival strategy. But evolution's trade-off is clear. Where lions are tanks, the cheetah is a race machine. Fast, precise, and fragile if the race runs long. Hunting starts with silence. The cheetah scans from a termite mound, then ghosts forward, using scattered bush and the angle of the sun to hide its approach. It aims for the gap, the calf that strays, the impala that glances the wrong way, closing to within 60 to 100 meters before the fuse burns down. Then, ignition. A blur of limbs, a double air step in each stride, claws biting dust. The sprint lasts seconds, not minutes. By 20 seconds, the engine runs hot. A hooked dew claw flicks at ankles to trip. A throat clamp ends the struggle. Victory is loud breathing, fast scanning, and eating now. Kleptoparasites have heard the news before the cat has swallowed. Hyenas, lions, even vultures spiraling like sirens. The cheetah gulps, drags, and often yields because fighting heavyweights risks the only thing it can't spare: energy. Daily life threads between dawn and dusk. Timing runs to cooler air and smaller patrols from rivals. Hunts fail more often than they succeed, and that's the math of the plains. Rest is shade, grooming grit from fur, and saving fuel for the next chance. Females walk alone until cubs arrive. Then the savannah becomes a mobile nursery. She stashes newborns in woven grass layers, shifts them every few days, and cycles through a stealth routine that would impress a spy. High cub mortality is the rule. Lions, hyenas, jackals, even eagles search the same ground. At around 6 weeks, tiny shadows start following her, learning by imitation. She will stage lessons with slowed prey, letting cubs practice the sprint without the fatal bite, a teacher with no chalk and a brutal syllabus. Males play a different game. Brothers often form coalitions of 2 or 3, stronger together, holding small territories around scent posts and vantage trees. They share kills, patrol boundaries, and act like a lightweight strike team in a land of heavy armor. Communication is a language of chirps, purrs, soft yips, and scent. Fights are avoided when possible because injuries bill straight to the hunger account. Cheetahs are specialists that keep fast-breeding herbivores honest, culling the unwary and shaping the behavior of herds. Their kills feed more than themselves. Scavengers cash in, and the nutrients ripple outward. Yet specialization brings vulnerability. Habitat loss, conflict with people, and competition with larger carnivores press in from all sides. Genetic bottlenecks add another worry. The species is listed as vulnerable, with strongholds in parts of Namibia, Botswana, and East Africa, and a race against time to keep corridors open. Conservation here is strategy. Space, prey, and a bit of peace so the fastest cat can just be a cat. In this savage kingdom, the cheetah is both blade and bruise, speed incarnate, and proof that mastery can be delicate. It embodies the spirit of the fight for survival, win in seconds, or pay in hunger. Hear that laughter that isn't laughter? In the dust-blown dark of the savannah, a spotted hyena clan rolls forward like a rumor with teeth, heads low, shoulders high, confidence multiplied by many. This is the savage kingdom, and their currency is endurance, numbers, and nerve. Meet the spotted hyena of Africa's grasslands and semi-arid plains, from thornbush flats to acacia-studded savannas. Recognized by its sloped back, dappled coat, and heavy, bone-breaking jaws, this predator is far more hunter than scavenger, especially when the clan moves as one. Painted in sandy gold and ash gray with chocolate spots, the hyena wears a coat designed to disappear into high grass at dusk. Evolution sculpted it with long, powerful forelimbs and slightly shorter hind limbs, creating that trademark downhill silhouette. A thick neck, a ridge of coarse mane, and a blocky skull announce exactly what this animal is built to do: grab, hold, and crush. Inside that skull, the jaw muscles are a masterpiece, premolars like hydraulic presses that turn the bones other carnivores abandon into dinner. Rounded ears swivel for stereo hearing, while wide-set eyes read motion at night like subtitles on the wind. Females are larger and more muscular than males, often by a noticeable margin. They carry an extraordinary adaptation, an elongated clitoris and fused labia that mimic male genitalia, a pseudo-penis that plays a role in their complex social world. Thick skin and dense limbs shrug off kicks and horn jabs from large prey. Paw pads are built for marathon work over rough ground. Add a stomach that can neutralize nasty pathogens, and you get a carnivore that wastes almost nothing and survives almost anywhere. Hyenas thrive in the in-between: dusk, night, and dawn. They forage alone, in pairs, or as a strike team, depending on opportunity. Yes, they'll scavenge, but their favorite strategy is a relentless, long-distance run that pushes big prey, wildebeest, zebra, hartebeest, toward exhaustion. Once a target tires, the clan coordinates a rotating pursuit, nipping hamstrings, switching leads, shaving away the prey's options until gravity takes over. They eat quickly and completely, skin, sinew, and bone reduced to fuel in minutes. If a rival pride of lions has a kill, the hyenas run a cost-benefit analysis on the fly. Outnumber the cats, mob and harass, outmuscled, live to fight the next night. Their soundscape is famous: whoops that carry for kilometers to rally reinforcements, giggles that signal stress and excitement, low growls that mean mine, and that eerie laugh the wind loves to borrow. Scent posts paste messages across the territory, a musk-written bulletin board. Back at the communal den, a surprising fact. Cubs arrive with eyes open and teeth already through. In the tightest litters, competition can turn savage, sibling rivalry that in harsh times can be fatal. In this kingdom, even the nursery runs on hard math. Spotted hyenas live in Physian fusion clans that can top 80 members where prey is plentiful. The system is unapologetically matriarchal. Females set the rules, inherit rank along mother-daughter lines, and dominate males, who usually migrate to other clans when they mature. At the top is the alpha female, bigger, meaner when needed, and the final word on who eats first and who backs off. Hyena etiquette is complex. Daily reunions involve ceremonial greetings, tail flagging, sniffing, and yes, erect displays that help confirm identity and rank. Friendships matter. High-ranking females form coalitions, and memory here is long. Allies today may save your cub tomorrow. The communal den is neutral ground where mothers park youngsters while they forage. Aunties babysit, but milk is mostly a one-mother contract. Communication is non-stop, vocal, visual, and chemical, a social web as sophisticated as many primates. And in showdowns with lions, numbers become a superpower. Hyenas can and do push big cats off kills, though the cats return the favor often enough to keep the rivalry honest. Hyenas are the sanitation crew and shock troops rolled into one. As hunters, they trim herbivore numbers. As scavengers, they erase carcasses that could breed disease. Their acids neutralize nasty microbes like a built-in hazmat suit, and their bone-crushing returns calcium and nutrients to the land. Competition with lions and wild dogs shapes behavior on all sides, keeping the predator guild sharp. Though listed as least concern, they face snares, poisoning, and persecution near livestock. Where corridors stay open and conflict is managed, hyena empires endure. Misread as villains, spotted hyenas are really the blunt truth of survival made flesh, efficient, social, and tireless. In the savage kingdom, they embody the spirit of adaptation, unglamorous, unyielding, and absolutely essential. Under a white, hot sun, a tiny silhouette rises on tiptoe, tail like a flagpole, eyes scanning every angle. This is the meerkat, 2 pounds of nerves and courage, living where shade is a rumor, and danger has wings, fangs, and patience. In this savage kingdom, survival isn't a solo act. It's a chorus of watch calls, dust, and split-second choices. Meet the meerkat, suricata suricata, of southern Africa's open savannas and deserts, the Kalahari and Namib. Each adult weighs just over 2 pounds, but together they move like a single organism. In colonies of up to 40, individuals rotate as sentinels, standing erect, swiveling their heads to read a horizon that never blinks. One sharp alarm cry, and the whole group vanishes as if the earth itself inhaled, straight into a fortress of burrows laced with multiple entrances and long, safe tunnels. Painted in sandy browns with charcoal eye patches, the meerkat wears desert camouflage perfected by evolution. Those dark patches aren't fashion, they reduce glare, turning harsh noon light into something a hunter can study. The face ends in a fine, probing snout, built for sniffing out beetles and grubs beneath baked crusts of soil. Along the back, faint stripes break up the body's outline, while the long, slender tail acts like a balancing rod and a little punctuation mark that says, "Yes, I'm alert." Their forelimbs carry serious hardware, curved digging claws like miniature sickles, capable of sculpting tunnels in minutes or flipping stones with the casual confidence of a locksmith. The belly, thinly furred and dark-skinned, is a solar panel. Mornings begin with a sun-bathing stance that warms chilled organs after a cold desert night. Ears can clamp shut when sand flies, and long lashes help keep grit out of those always watching eyes. Compact, light, and low to the ground, a meerkat can pivot and dive in a heartbeat, speed and design honed for a world that punishes hesitation. Meerkats are daylight specialists. After the dawn warm-up, everyone doing the coffee pose, bellies to the sun, they fan out to forage. The menu is a crunchy buffet. Beetles, termites, caterpillars, scorpions, spiders, and the occasional lizard or egg. When it comes to venomous scorpions, they are cautious surgeons, often disarming the stinger before dining, backed by partial resistance to certain toxins. One animal climbs a mound to take sentry duty, scanning for aerial assassins like buzzards and martial eagles, or ground threats like jackals and snakes. A soft, rhythmic watchman's song tells the foraging crew it's safe. The soundtrack flips to sharp barks and trills the moment danger appears, and then, whoosh, fortress mode. Whole mobs mob too. If a cobra slips too close, meerkats unite in a fierce, jittery phalanx, distracting, feinting, and lunging to drive it off. They groom to cement bonds, dust bathe to evict parasites, and keep moving. In a landscape that offers no pantry and no promises, every day is a fresh roll of the dice. A meerkat colony, often called a mob or gang, is a masterclass in cooperative living. Typically, a dominant breeding pair leads, and the rest help raise the young, babysitting at the burrow, carrying pups, and even feeding them with hunted prey. What looks like play is often a lesson. Adults teach by stages, giving pups easier, then progressively trickier prey, including defanged scorpions to practice on. Sentinel duty rotates. No one stays at the top forever, and calls keep everyone threaded together across the grass. Communication is a full language. Contact murmurs, foraging chatter, alarm calls that code for sky, snake, or run now. Harmony has hard edges. Rival mobs clash in roaring, tail-flagging scrums, and subordinates may be evicted in lean times. But when pups squeak, the village rallies. In this world, family is both shield and strategy. Meerkats are tiny engineers. Their digging aerates soil, lets rain soak deeper, and helps cycle nutrients. They renovate old burrow networks, sometimes shared patchwork landscapes with ground squirrels and mongooses, creating safe haven for a dozen smaller tenants once they move on. They thin out insects and even dangerous scorpions, subtly steering the food web while serving as prey for eagles, snakes, and jackals. Evolution arms them with keen vision, lightning reflexes, and group tactics that turn small bodies into a big problem for predators. Listed as least concern, they still face threats from drought, habitat pressure, and the casual dangers of living in open terrain where everything sharp has an appetite. The meerkat is proof that in a savage kingdom, courage scales to size when it stands on many feet. 2 pounds of heartbeat, backed by 40 voices, reminding us that survival favors the vigilant and the united. The sun goes bronze, and the grass turns to whispers. Among thorny acacias, the giraffe rises, calm eyes, storm-ready legs. In a land where teeth rule twilight, this quiet giant watches everything and kicks like a wrecking ball when the silence breaks. Meet the giraffe of the African savannah, the tallest land animal on Earth, pressing 18 feet of height into the sky. They look gentle, almost aristocratic, drifting between acacia trees on stilted legs. But this is the savage kingdom. Every step is a calculation, every mouthful a risk. Giraffes browse high, but they live with danger low, right where the grass moves. Painted by nature in a mosaic of caramel patches edged in cream, each giraffe wears a coat as unique as a fingerprint. Those blotches are not just art. Beneath them, a web of vessels helps shed heat like living air vents. A long, muscular neck, same 7 vertebrae as ours, supersized, gives them a skyward reach, while ossicones, those horn-like knobs, grow heavier and bald on top in older males, scarred by battles. The tongue is an 18-inch inky blue ribbon, tough as leather and nimble as a hand, designed to weave through thorns and pluck the newest, most nutritious leaves. Thick saliva neutralizes acacia toxins. Evolution gave them a built-in antacid. Legs are skyscraper pillars ending in half-moon hooves. One decisive kick can break a lion's ribs. The heart is a powerhouse, up to 11 kilograms, driving blood up a 2-meter neck with pressure that would knock most animals out. Valves and a sponge-like rete in the head stop the brain from flooding when they dip to drink. Even the tail is a tool, a whip with a black tassel to swat persistent flies. Every inch of the giraffe is engineered to browse where others can't and to survive where others don't. Giraffes live on the rhythm of light. Mornings and late afternoons are for feeding. The heat of midday is for shade and rumination, jaws rolling in slow, thoughtful circles. They can pull down up to 75 pounds of leaves and shoots a day, with acacias as a favorite course. When the trees pump out bitter defenses, giraffes simply move, upwind to another canopy before the alarm spreads. Drinking is the dangerous part. They splay those long legs and dip every second at the water like a dare to anything lurking nearby. If the grass stirs wrong, they abort mid-sip and snap back upright faster than seems possible. Movement is smooth, almost surreal. The front and back legs on one side swing together in a pacing walk, and when they run, it's a rocking horse gallop that can touch 35 miles per hour. Males neck to settle status, swinging heads like medieval flails. It's not drama, it's governance. Nights are short naps stolen standing up, ears flicking, eyes sweeping, because the predators don't punch a time clock. There's no strict herd, more a floating city. Giraffes are fission-fusion socialites. Small groups form and dissolve, mothers drifting together with calves, bachelors cruising the edges like tall shadows. Females lead quietly. The real hierarchy belongs to the bulls, written in neck scars and weight. Courtship is practical. A male samples a female's urine. Yes, really, to test if she's ready. If she is, he follows with patient persistence. After a 15-month pregnancy, a calf drops 6 feet into life, hits the ground, and stands within an hour, because hesitation is expensive here. Lions take most giraffe losses, especially calves. Hyenas and leopards are opportunists on the edges. Mothers are vigilant, parking calves in hiding while they feed, returning often for nursing and grooming. Oxpeckers hitch rides, picking ticks and sounding alarms, a small partnership in a land of uneasy treaties. Giraffes prune the skyline. By browsing high, they sculpt acacias into umbrella crowns, letting light reach the ground and inviting grasses, flowers, and insects to flourish. Seeds hitch rides through their gut and drop with fertilizer where new groves can rise. Their watchtower view helps everyone. Zebra, impala, even predators read giraffe posture like a weather report. Threats are human-sized, habitat squeeze, fencing that breaks ancient roots, poaching. As a whole, giraffes are listed as vulnerable, and some subspecies are in far deeper trouble. Protecting corridors and communities that live with them keeps these sentinels standing. In the savage kingdom, elegance is armor. The giraffe embodies quiet resilience, grace held steady against the teeth of dusk, a reminder that survival can be both beautiful and unbreakably tough. In the cold blue corridors of the North Pacific, a giant draws a perfect circle of bubbles, and a school of fish suddenly finds the walls closing in. This is the ocean's savage kingdom, where power is measured in lungs, leverage, and the patience to strike at the right second. One moment, the sea is calm. The next, a mouth the size of a garage door erupts from below and turns silence into spray. Meet the humpback whale, the long-winged voyager of the North Pacific, migrating from Alaska's rich feeding grounds to the warm, sheltered waters around the Hawaiian Islands. It's a baleen whale, one of the great filter feeders, cousin to the blue whale and kin to the toothed hunters like orcas and sperm whales. Humpbacks trade teeth for plates of baleen that sieve life from seawater. And in a realm ruled by speed and stealth, that simple switch rewrites the rules of survival. Up close, the humpback looks like a living sculpture carved by tides. Adults stretch to around 49 feet and can weigh up to 88,000 pounds, cloaked in charcoal black and slate gray, splashed with white like frost on basalt. Along the jawline and rostrum, knobbly tubercles stud the skin, each a sensory bump with a single whisker-like hair to feel the water's whispers. The throat is folded with pleats, accordion panels that expand like a bellows when the whale lunges, gulping tons of fish-laced water in a single heartbeat. In the mouth hang the baleen plates, flexible keratin curtains that turn a chaos of bubbles and prey into dinner. And those wings, pectoral fins that can span a third of the body, are sweeping white jazz hands built for tight turns and sudden lifts. The tail, broad and notched like a banner, is unique to each whale. One powerful downstroke is a piston of muscle and sinew that launches this leviathan through the sea. Whales breathe air, not water, and they do it brilliantly, exchanging most of the air in their lungs in just a second or two, a pressure-proof system that fuels deep, relentless work. Daily life is part choreography, part endurance sport. On feeding grounds, humpbacks are bubble architects. A lead whale gives a specific feeding call, and the team spirals upward, blowing a lattice of bubbles that corrals sand lance or herring into a trembling column. At the cue, they rocket through, mouths agape, throats ballooning. The baleen strains the soup, the water sluices out, the fish don't. Between attacks, they recover with steady breaths, often surfacing every 5 to 15 minutes, blowholes snapping open and shut like camera shutters. In calmer hours, the ocean becomes their stage. Breaches detonate the surface. A 40-ton body clears the water and lands with a thunderclap that can rock small boats and set gulls wheeling. Tail slaps crack across the bay like punctuation marks. And then there are the songs, long, evolving melodies that can last hours, different dialects in different regions, rising from winter-breeding waters off Hawaii like a chorus under the stars. Toothed cousins use echolocation to hunt in the dark, firing sound and reading the echoes. Humpbacks lean on sight, memory, teamwork, and the physics of bubbles. Socially, humpbacks are flexible. On feeding grounds, they form temporary alliances, bubble net crews that disband as quickly as they form. In breeding season, things heat up. Males sing and posture. Competition pods surge around a female, jostling and bluffing in high-speed chases where one well-timed tail flick can be the difference between love and a bruised ego. Females carry a single calf after an 11 to 12-month gestation. Calves are born into warm, quiet bays, tucked against the mother's flank as if glued there by instinct. Whale milk is famously thick, up to 50% fat, more like warm yogurt than milk, a superfood that powers growth measured in pounds per day. Mothers teach the route, the rhythms, and the manners of whales, how to draft in her slipstream, how to time a breath, when to sink silent when danger cruises by. Ecologically, humpbacks are gardeners and engines. Their movements stir nutrients. Their waste fertilizes plankton, the tiny plants that form the base of the ocean's food web and help produce a large share of the oxygen we breathe. In life and in death, whales move carbon downward, their bodies eventually sinking and feeding entire deep-sea communities. But this kingdom is noisy and risky. Sperm whales fire clicks as loud as 230 decibels. Ships add a constant mechanical roar. Noise can mask songs, tangle conversations, and fray the delicate choreography of feeding. Ship strikes and oil spills turn breath into a hazard. The fight for survival isn't just tooth and claw. It's decibels, propellers, and choices we make at the surface. Yet every breach is a declaration. The sea still has giants. The humpback embodies resilience, artistry, and muscle in one body, a reminder that even in a savage kingdom, cooperation can be the sharpest weapon. The river looks peaceful until it grows teeth. A drifting log lifts two golden eyes, and the water itself becomes a trap. In the panic of hooves and foam, the Nile crocodile does not chase. It erases. One surge, one spin, and the current writes the ending. Meet the Nile crocodile of Africa's great waterways, Mara, Grumeti, Nile, and the quiet lakes and backwaters in between. It is the heavyweight that doesn't need to move to win. At over 16 feet and up to 1,500 pounds, It is a living ambush, a prehistoric machine tuned to stillness. Its signature move? A bite that clamps like a car crusher and a death roll that turns resistance into surrender. Painted by muddy sun and shadow, the Nile crocodile wears armor you can hear when a tail hits the bank, rows of bony scutes, each a shield fused into skin. The head is a wedge of patience, long, low, and studded with sensory pits that read ripples like Morse code. 60-plus conical teeth don't shear, they grip, perfect for locking onto anything from fish to a zebra's flank. The tail is a double-barreled engine, laterally flattened, all coiled muscle for that instant, explosive launch. Nostrils, eyes, and ears ride high on the skull, a periscope suite allowing the body to vanish while the senses stay online. A nictitating membrane slides over the eye, a transparent goggles down for underwater precision, while a valve seals the throat so the croc can bite without drowning. Color is camouflage: olive, bronze, and riverbed black, patterned to disappear in tannin-stained water. As an ectotherm, it basks to bank heat, then opens its mouth to vent. Gaping is not a threat display, it's a radiator. Inside, a specialized heart system helps shunt blood efficiently during long dives, turning breath into a negotiable luxury. Gastroliths, swallowed stones, act like ballast and a kitchen mortar, helping grind meals and stabilize buoyancy. It's evolution's version of minimalist design: no frills, all function. The crocodile's hunting strategy is the most ruthless economy. Move less, gain more. Hours, sometimes days, pass in statue-still patience, and then, in a burst, the water detonates. The bite lands, the victim is dragged into depth. If the prey thrashes, the croc spins. Death roll engaged, leveraging mass and momentum to tear and disorient. During the great crossings, when wildebeest and zebra flood the rivers, crocodiles station at choke points like sentries of panic. They don't need many strikes each season. One successful ambush can fuel weeks. Outside the migration, fish, birds, antelope that wander too close, even an unwary wild dog or lion cub can be taken. Night suits them. Their eyes reflect starlight, and stealth becomes a superpower. By day, they bask along sandbars and under overhanging roots, thermoregulating and digesting. When water drops in the dry season, they shift to deeper pools, sometimes excavating wallows with tail and snout. Crocodiles are not wasteful eaters. They shear chunks against the river or against each other's bodies, sometimes entering a synchronized feeding scrum that looks like chaos but is remarkably efficient. Patience is their currency. Timing is their profit. Despite the solitary myth, Nile crocodiles run on rules. Where food concentrates, so do crocs, and with crowds come hierarchies. Big males claim prime basking spots and first access to carcasses. Size and scars decide the seating chart. Communication is low frequency and low drama, bellows that vibrate water, head slaps that send ripples like warning letters. Courtship softens the monster, a duet of nudges, bubbles, and body rubs in quiet eddies before the rainy season. Females select high ground to dig nests, then stand guard, a vigilant mother with a mouth full of tenderness. When the eggs chirp from inside, she opens the nest and carries the hatchlings gently between jaws that can crush bone. The little raft of crocs gathers in a nursery area, watched over as they learn the art of stillness. Sex is written in temperature. Warmer nests tilt male, cooler tilt female, a delicate equation vulnerable to changing climate. And though they tolerate neighbors, trespassers learn quickly. In this river, real estate is enforced with ancient authority. Nile crocodiles are apex predators and sanitation crews in one armored package. They cull the weak, trim the reckless, and clean the floodplains of carrion, preventing disease from spreading. Their kills move nutrients from land to water, feeding fish and the unseen economy of microbes. At crossings, they shape behavior and migration routes, engineering caution into the herds. They host cleaning fish that nip parasites from their skin, a quiet truce in the shallows. Officially of least concern across much of their range, they still face snares, riverbank development, poisoning, and conflict with people. Protecting wetlands and keeping crossings wild protects the croc and the system it keeps honest. The Nile crocodile is patience weaponized, a symbol of time's cold advantage in a savage kingdom. It reminds us that survival isn't always a chase. Sometimes it's a stillness that waits and wins. Stormlight bruises the horizon. Heat breathes out of the earth. Grass leans, whispering. At the edge of a shrinking waterhole, the wild draws its battle lines without ever speaking. Lionesses flatten into the color of dust, ribs low, eyes bright with old hunger. Hyenas drift like shadows with grins, counting seconds and odds. A leopard watches from a jackalberry branch, tail ticking, the silent accountant of risk. Wild dogs stretch, ears tuned to every rustle, a chorus ready to break into a sprint. Zebra and wildebeest hesitate on the cracked shore, hooves drumming indecision. In the shallows, logs are not logs. Crocodiles hold the stillness like a blade. The first zebra steps. The water loosens with muddy sighs. A croc erupts. Spray, teeth, panic. The herd explodes backward, black and white thunder, finding dry ground as one. A single mare stumbles, then finds her feet, saved by a kick and the frenzy of her friends. Across the flats, the dogs commit. They flow around an impala like water around a rock, trading the lead, never wasting a stride. The impala leaps, a flash of hope. The pack closes, quick, clean. Life for the many, a cost paid by one. The lions choose a buffalo calf on the fringe. Dust blooms, horns lower. The herd folds into a living fortress around the small heartbeat at its center. A lioness catches a shoulder, is thrown, recovers, tries again. Bulls charge with the gravity of trains. Hyenas hover, ready to write a different ending if anyone slips. Not tonight. The lions peel off, breath hot, eyes colder. The calf lives because a wall with horns said so. Thunder walks closer. A fish eagle razors the sky with a cry. Vultures pinwheel, not ghouls, but cleaners, the final service crew of the savannah. The elephant matriarch arrives last, as if summoned by the storm. She steps into the water and the quarrel pauses. Calves drink under the arch of her legs. Even hunger respects a force older than argument. Some win, some lose. Everyone learns. This is the savage kingdom, cruel only if you forget that survival is the softest word the wild owns. We crossed teeth and thunder together and found a truth. Balance is 1,000 daily negotiations. Our part? Keep corridors open. Back rangers and communities. Choose choices that let these stories keep breathing. If this moved you, tap like, hit subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from and which showdown stunned you most. Share it with someone who knows the taste of rain on dust. The storm breaks, the plain drinks, and the heartbeat of the wild goes on, steady as dawn.